Hi guys, it's Dwayne from Yugatech, and today we have the Samsung Galaxy A36 5G. This device is part of new additions to Samsung's A series, which were hot finds last year, as seen from our Galaxy A35 and A55 review videos. Needless to say, the line offered a couple of the best mid-range pickups in 2024. However, it also begs the question of how Samsung can improve an already great offering without just turning it into the A55. To start, similar to the S series devices, the Galaxy A36 is now also powered by a Snapdragon chipset. There's also a tweak in design language that users can see in the form of a new camera enclosure. And of course, the addition of OneUI 7. So if you're ready to see what this little guy can do, then let's dive right in. The A36 follows suit in terms of Samsung's design language, evident with the recently launched S25 series. It's flat-sided with curved edges, sporting a polycarbonate frame and glass back panel, which is protected by a layer of Gorilla Glass Victus Plus. But just like last year, it feels sturdy and doesn't take away from its premium feel. It's safe to say that the build is impressive. Still, it's not as ergonomic as we would prefer. I mean, my daily driver's display measures 6.7 inches and I already find it hard to hold. For those curious, the A36 also gets a 6.7-inch display, but its body comes off a bit wider when in hand. Frankly, viewers could argue that my hands just aren't optimal for plus-size phones, but I digress. It's also worth mentioning that compared to last year's A35, the A36 is also thinner by 0.8 millimeters, which may not sound like a lot, but it is a very noticeable change. Last year, we noted that the A35 could be mistaken for an S23 or S24. Samsung's fix to this is the addition of an enclosure for their camera sensors on the back panel. Either way, we thought this was a nice touch to separate the A series devices from flagship models. Everything else on the back panel looked about the same though, retaining the minimalist aesthetic. At the front, we have the display panel protected by Corning Gorilla Glass Victus Plus 2. We all know how Samsung likes to make the display bezels thicker the further we get from the S series, and it's no different here with the A36. Although, it is worth mentioning that they have shrunk a little bit compared to last year's A35. Next, users will find the volume rocker and power button on the right side. Similar to last year's A35, it has a protruding hump. Again, it feels odd and out of place. We aren't sure if this contributes to button actuation or tactility, but we definitely think that they need to stop doing this.
You can't keep getting away with it!
In hindsight, the hump is now more of a bump, meaning it's not as intrusive as last year's model. Meanwhile, the bottom houses a dual nano SIM card tray, noise-canceling microphones, a USB Type-C port, and a speaker grill. At the top, we have two other noise-canceling microphones. The top bezel of the display also houses a slim slit which acts as the call earpiece and where users can find another stereo speaker driver. Wrapping up this segment, the A36 also has an IP67 rating. This means that it is completely protected against dust and can be submerged in 1 meter of water for up to 30 minutes. Generally, the A36 has a better build from its predecessor that now separates itself more from S-series devices. It's interesting to see and feel how much thinner the phone is, which could be subtle foreshadowing for the S25 Edge concept we saw earlier this year. The Galaxy A36 5G boasts a 6.7-inch Super AMOLED screen with FHD Plus resolution. It supports a refresh rate up to 120Hz and offers 1200 nits of peak brightness. In short, there are barely any changes from last year's display. Nonetheless, it's still pretty damn good. It's sizable with great color production, contrast, and deep blacks. Like most Samsung phones, we can even tinker with this under screen mode via the settings menu. We can set it to either vivid or natural, with the vivid option giving us individual settings to tinker with. Samsung display setting favorites also make a return through extra dim mode and eye comfort shield. Both are great features for when users are watching videos or browsing at demon hours before sleeping. For media consumption, the dual stereo speakers complement the A36's screen nicely with good audio clarity and loudness. Users still get Dolby Atmos that adds to the immersion for your viewing and or streaming experience. Biometric options include include an optical in-display fingerprint sensor and facial recognition. Enrollment is smooth with both options, with no issues from my end here. Although, I have to say, the face unlock is a bit buggy or slow under low light, like last year. With that, it's safe to say that the fingerprint sensor has an advantage here. For optics, the Samsung Galaxy A36 5G sports the same setup for its triple rear camera system. This is headlined by a 50 megapixel main, followed by an 8 megapixel ultra-wide and a 5 megapixel macro. It's also fitted with a 12 megapixel front-facing camera for selfies. In some capacity, I personally expected Samsung to maybe add a telephoto lens to shake it up. As you can see from our sample shots, snaps from the main sensor look well detailed even at night, which was a pleasant surprise. The mainstay quirks are still here, which include a generally cool white balance and vibrant color reproduction. Photos taken with the ultra-wide sensor, on the other hand, have notable improvement, especially at night. However, detail can be lacking when cropping into these shots, but is to be expected from an ultra-wide. The macro sensor is alright, but feels like an afterthought. It's a nice secondary sensor should users need to get a bit closer to their subject. It isn't the worst, nor is it the best. Selfies turned out pretty well. It feels like it was tuned relative to how the main camera would perform in comparison to the other sensors. We also noticed the addition of a new camera mode on top of what's commonly available. Now we have fun mode in collaboration with Snapchat. Similar to Instagram mode that debuted in the Galaxy S10 series, it's what you'd expect. A mode integrated within the stock camera app where users can take photos with a selection of first-party Snapchat filters. Take note though, you do need an internet connection for this mode because obviously Snapchat needs a data connection. For video recording, the Galaxy A36 can shoot up to 4K or UHD. The rear cameras support up to 60 FPS, while the front camera can only shoot up to 30 FPS. Recording at UHD is quite nice, offering good dynamic range and colors, although a bit saturated. My personal advice would be to keep your storage space in mind when shooting in UHD. All things considered, the cameras provide users with a well-rounded experience. The Samsung Galaxy A36 5G ships with OneUI 7 based on Android 15 out of the box. I'm pleased to tell viewers that this device gets support for 6 years of OS updates and security patches. Like usual OneUI fashion, we get amazing multitasking control with pop-up windows and split screening. For more of an in-depth look on what's new with OneUI 7, stay tuned for another dedicated video that we will be rolling out soon. That being said, Google's suite of apps come pre-installed. There's also OneDrive here because of Samsung's partnership with Windows, but really, not much to complain about. Overall, our experience with the software so far has been nothing but smooth, responsive, and intuitive. Powering the Galaxy A36 is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 6 Gen 3, a 4nm chipset that features an octa-core CPU paired with an Adreno 710 GPU. For reference, our review unit came with 6GB of RAM and 128GB of internal storage. It also features up to 6GB of additional memory via the RAM Plus setting. One thing of note here is that this A-series iteration no longer offers expandable storage, which we predict will be a letdown for some viewers. As per our synthetic benchmarks, it doesn't come with the highest scores that we've had for mid-rangers this year. However, our time spent with the device resulted with no issues. I've used the Samsung Galaxy A36 for roughly a week, mostly for browsing the web, YouTube binging, gaming, and taking photos and videos here and there. So far, it's been great at responsiveness and provides a lag-free experience. Amazingly, the phone rarely heats up when playing resource-intensive titles like Genshin Impact and PUBG Mobile. We recommend playing the aforementioned titles on medium at best. Maxing out the graphics in heavy games can lead to some throttling with drops in frame rate during gameplay. That said, keeping it at low would also help gamers who don't mind sacrificing visuals for performance. Here are our benchmark scores for interested viewers. The Galaxy A36 packs a modest 5000 mAh battery with support for 45 watts of fast charging. It can power up from 0 to 100% at about an hour via USB Type-C. The battery life for this device improved a ton compared to last year's model. In fact, it was able to pump out 16 hours and 32 minutes of uptime via PCMark's Work 3.0 battery test. In our standard video loop test, it was able to provide a whopping 30 hours and 57 minutes. Connectivity options include 5G, dual nano SIM slots, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.4, GPS, and NFC with digital key support. A digital key is used for vehicles that allow access to this feature. We just aren't sure if this feature will be rolled out in our country for sure just yet, but we can see a lot of hybrid and EV owners making the most out of this so far. Call and message quality are great, either via Wi-Fi or over mobile data with no signal loss issues. So, concluding this video, we have to talk about its price. The Samsung Galaxy A36 5G retails for 19,990 pesos with 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. There is also a unit with 8GB of RAM and 256GB of storage worth 21,190 pesos. For our general consensus, this phone is insane. It checks out all the boxes of what you need and gives you just a little bit more at less than just 20,000 pesos. Potential buyers can expect an amazing multimedia consumption setup, good cameras, and an even better battery life. What more could you ask for? A nice interface? Well, OneUI 7 is pretty nice, but if you prefer something else, then that's all good. But if you're still looking for a bit more from Samsung under 26,000 pesos, you guys don't have to look that hard. The Galaxy A56 offers practically the same experience with more juice under the hood. For those interested, feel free to check out our review on the device right here. What do you guys think of the Samsung Galaxy A36? Let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit the bell icon for notifications if you enjoyed our video. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and yugatech.com for more content, tech news, and reviews. Once again, this has been Dwayne, and I will be seeing you guys in the next one. Cheers!